Hey guys, I will do a comparison video of the Aristo, LG Aristo 2 versus the ZTE Blade Z Max Pro. So these two phones are quite different. As you can see, starting from the size, one is much bigger than the other. This one is a 6-inch and this one is a 5-inch. So the ZTE is a whole inch bigger than the Aristo 2. No, but bigger doesn't always mean better. Let's take a look at the design. So if you can see here at the back, the ZTE has a very nice textured back, looks really nice, and it has two cameras, dual camera, and it has LED, and it has a power button. It's actually not a power button, it's a fingerprint scanner. And then there are power button, volume rockers, and then there's a SIM tray that you can pop out, and it uses USB Type-C. It's actually really amazing. And then headphone jack. The Aristo has a very reflective mirror-like finish back, but it's still plastic and has a very plasticky feeling side. The ZTE also has a plastic side trim, but feels slightly more like metal because of its color and just, I guess, the texture. But my favorite between the two obviously has to go to the Z Max Pro because of, actually, it looks thinner, but I think it's about the same thinness. And it just has a much better, it even has curved sides, that attention to detail, much better at holding than this one. Even though it's a bigger sized phone. And also just the trims, the chrome trim here looks really nice. So if we run down the specs, this one has a octa-core 1.4 gigahertz chip. This one only has a quad-core 1.4 gigabyte chip, gigahertz chip. So quite a big difference there. Well, not that big, but a pretty big difference, especially for a phone kind of this level, a very low-end phone. And this one has a 16 megapixel main camera and an 8 megapixel front camera, while this one has a 13 megapixel and 5 megapixel front. And this one, obviously, as you can see, has dual camera that actually can take portrait mode, which is available on most of the high-end Android or the new iPhones, which is really impressive. The fact that they were able to fit the two cameras. And this one obviously just has one, and the cameras, this one's much more superior and it's faster. And I'll actually show you a demo right now of it taking a video, a photo. So I have the LG Aristo regular here, and if I take a photo with this, it's pretty not that slow, but the picture quality itself is really bad. Really poor. As you can see, it's really fuzzy right here, and it's really blurred back here. Just not a great photo overall. Really bland color. But if we take a look at the Z Max Pro, way faster and a way better quality. As you can see, it's definitely more focused back there, still a little blurry, and definitely a lot better dynamic range, better colors for sure. So if we go here, definitely better colors and better stuff in general. And also the display on this display is superior compared to this one because the whites are much better. And this one, although this one actually has a 1080p display, the 720p display I think beats it because of the color and just the brightness of overall kind of display of this. And the software on the Z Max Pro the Blade Z Max Pro is much better than this one. It actually has kind of a dark theme running instead of this really bright LG skin. And this one's definitely closer to stock, with even with an app drawer that is really great and reminds me a lot of stock Android. And if you go to settings here, you can kind of tell the difference between the displays. This one actually gets a little brighter, but the display on both are great. This one, I prefer this one if this was bigger. Since this one is bigger, I definitely prefer this. And this 1080 piece, obviously, this one. But the display on this, being a 720p display, this is probably the best 720p display I've seen. It's really awkward saying that, but it is true. And if we take a look at the performance, this one's definitely better, especially with the octa-core chip. And yeah, so this one is definitely better. I don't really see any lags. I can even game on this really smoothly. Although this one also works really well with games and all that kind of stuff. This one just works a little better, and the battery also lasts longer on the ZTE compared to this, the Aristo 2, and that might be a deal breaker for some of you. And so overall, both are great phones, both are very different phones. If you don't like the big phone, it barely fits in my hands. It's very, very wide. Although the texture kind of helps me grip it. This one definitely looks and feels nicer than this one. I think in every way this phone is better. Besides if you don't like the screen size, then you will obviously have to go to this one. And this one, the bezels are, this one is actually slightly bigger, even though it's smaller. That makes sense, but that's also quite disappointing. The design, definitely I'll give it to this one. But if you like big phones, definitely go with this one. If you don't like big phones, go with this one. If you don't care, I would choose this one over this one. Now, but Aristo 2 is very new. It has a newer version of Android, so you might consider that as well. And so thanks for watching, and see you in the next video. Peace.